every language has the same parts. We all have the same mouth. We all have the same brain. What's different is which sounds we choose to use, right? So 英文的音、中文的音没有那么不一样。They're basically the same sounds. But if I say 我的太太姓林 right? 她姓林 That's what I said, Ling.
Yeah.
And you understood me, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of the problem. In Chinese, it doesn't really matter whether you make that sound right or not. But in English, we do have different words for each of those sounds. Okay? So that's part of it. Now, one thing that we want to focus on whenever we're looking at correcting pronunciation is making it as different as possible. So, if I remember, some of you were here the last time and we talked about the M thing. But what about this one here? Because this is also a problem. So, M is really just a matter of closing your lips, right? If you don't close your lips, you're not going to say M. But what about the thing problem? That sound you don't have in Chinese. So, the thing is, if I want to learn Chinese, I have some sounds in Chinese that are not in English. Things like 有鸡还有吃，有西还有是, right? If I'm not careful, my shi and my shi are going to sound the same. And actually, that's the problem with the pinyin, is that it's really hard to tell the difference. One of them has an E, one of them has an That's not right. The difference between shi and shi isn't the E and the part, right? It's the part with the tip of your tongue. Sh is at the front, sh is at the back. You have to curl your tongue back. Now, for me to learn this, I have to make those sounds very different. For you, your tongue doesn't have to move far. And I know a lot of Chinese speakers who basically make the same sound and they can tell the difference, right? But for me to learn the Chinese, I have to make those differences bigger. It's just like when you're playing the piano. Does anybody here play the piano? Anybody? Piano? Do you know somebody who plays the piano? Have you ever watched somebody learn the piano?
Yeah.
All right? When you watch somebody who's really good, they can play like this, right? Their hand barely moves, it's just their fingers. But for somebody who's learning, they have to make each move very clear so that they can learn it. It's the same thing if you're learning how to type properly. If you're still doing this in university, that's bad, okay? So, but to learn how to do it properly, you need to make each move more different. It's the same thing with sound. So for me, shi and shi, I have to make the shi more to the front and the shi more to the back. And for this one, there's the s sound, which is here. And there's the sound, which is, okay, this is your teeth, all right? The sound is here. For me. But for you, that's going to be a problem. The difference with this sound is it's your tongue against your teeth. So, what else can you do? How can you make it more different? Right? Your tongue can come out of your mouth, right? Make it more different. This can't go further back. The S can't go back here. You can't do that. But your can go here. And that way, there's no confusion between the two sounds. So, thing, sing. We can make them more different. Okay? So whenever you're practicing anything, 如果是发音还是字还是文法，都是一样的问题。Always the same problem. You have some things that should be the same, and some that should be different. So if they should be different, make them more different. 这个母音一样的问题 right? Short vowels and long vowels, 长的母音跟短的母音，中文没有很大的不一样的 right? Big and big, it's almost the same. But in English, those are different words. So we have to make them more different. Okay? But if we want to talk about movies, well, could I ask each of you what your favorite movie is? Part of the problem is not everybody's the same level, but we can try. So, what's your favorite movie? Could you tell in a very short sentence what happens in your movie? Pick one movie and say what happens in it. Remember that whenever you're talking about something like that, the easiest thing to do is start by asking the questions.
Who, where, why, how.
So, what we could even do is, if there's a movie that you like, we can have other people ask the questions. Okay, let's try it. So what's your favorite movie? Which one? Jurassic Park. Okay, that's a really good story. Not because of the dinosaurs, but because of the philosophy in it. There's some really good things they say in that movie. Okay, Jurassic Park. You all know that one, right? Okay, so let's ask some questions. So, ask some questions. How about we say everybody has to ask one question? So, what could we start with? Yeah, how can we start asking about that story? Who, all right? So who is in it? You can say, meaning who are the actors, right? But we could also say who has watched it. Yeah, who knows that movie? Jurassic Park. I think everybody has seen this one by now. Right? One with the dinosaurs. The best part is where the dinosaur eats the lawyer, right? Because nobody likes lawyers. Okay, so who has seen it? Who are the main characters? Who does what? Right? There's a lot of questions we can ask there. Who is the hero? Every story has a hero. So who is the hero in Jurassic Park? We get the name. Okay, what does he do? He saves everyone, right? What's his job? Well, who is in the movie to start with? Who are some of the important people? Like, there's the guy who owns the park, right? This is a place. There's the owner, right? And then there's his wife, his son, 有什么? Well, I mean, the owner's, it's his grandkids, actually, his grandchildren, right? So the owner is that fat old man, right? One of the cane, and there are his grandchildren, his 2 grandchildren, okay? All right, who else is in the story? Well, it's about dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
So we have like a dinosaur doctor, maybe?
Next one.
Because this is supposed to be like a zoo, right?
Yeah.
So there's a doctor. Okay. What else is there? Are there people who study about dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Okay. And what else? Besides dinosaurs, there are people who study history. Well, not in that story, not so much.
Yeah, right.
If there are animals, there are also okay, there's people, but also there are plants, right? Is there anybody who studies plants? Yeah? The hero's girlfriend, right? Yeah. So there's the guy and the girl. He studies dinosaurs, she studies plants from a long time ago. Okay, who else do we have?
Pilots.
There's the pilot, right? The airplane pilot, the helicopter pilot. Okay. What else? Who's the bad guy? You should watch the movie again. It really is good. You remember he's kind of fat, he works on the computer. What they're saying is fat, lazy people are bad, right? So, there's the guy who makes the computer system work, right? The fat guy, and he tries to steal the dinosaur eggs, right? Or the DNA. Okay, so we have a couple people. Where is it? Where does this story happen?
Zoo.
It's like a zoo, right? Where is this zoo? It's kind of a special place. It's an island, right? So it's on an island, okay? When?
Future.
Was it in the future? It wasn't really set far in the future. The first movie had only the technology that we had at that time. So it's called science fiction. But science fiction isn't always about the future. Science fiction is really important for us to understand because it gives us a warning. It says, 小心, right? That's the difference between science fiction and stories like this, right? If there's magic and dragons, you know, like Lord of the Rings, right? That has a different purpose. But a story like this, the only reason we have a story like this is to tell people, be careful, 小心. Don't do this too fast. Take your time, think. And that's one of the most important things in that story. Because the people who built the park, they didn't have to work very hard to learn what they learned, right? They didn't do this.